Welcome to the new edition of the ABBA League magazine. In the fifth round, Krka was trying to return to winning ways against MZT, who managed to do that after Vrbica Stefano took the helm of the club. Olympia had a very hard task against Mega Vizura, and Budućnost tried to remain unbeaten against Cibona. Zadar played hosts to the top team of the league, and at the end of the show we will present you with the best 5 actions of the round. We start with the news. More bad luck for Marko Tomas and his injury situation. After missing almost all of last year and after featuring in only 2 games this season, he now faces new problems with his muscle. He's expected to be out for another 3 to 4 weeks. After Zmago Sagadin, now Vedran Morovic left MZT Skopje. He played 14 minutes and scored 5 points on average in the 4 games he has featured in this season. And we start our highlights with Szolnok hosting Levski from Sofia, who was forced to play without Pavlin Ivanov, who had a knee injury. Ákos Keller was the first one to score in this game. And for the visitors, it was Hristo Zacharieu. And that was the start of 7 consecutive points for Levski, who took the lead of 7-2 through Dimitros 3. When Miljan Pupovic scored from the counter-attack, Levski was in front by 13-5. But that was followed by a run of 11-2 from Szolnok, who was able to win the first period by 16-15 after Christian Wittmann first stole the ball and then scored. At the start of the second quarter, David Vojvoda scored for 3 and stretched that run to 14-2, but that didn't faze the Bulgarians, who managed to respond a bit later to take the lead of 28-25 when Stojan Djurovski scored for 3. Then it was again Szolnok's turn to reply, which they did by scoring the next 11 points, 5 of which were contributed by Lazaric Jones to take the lead of 36-28. David Vojvoda then set the result after the first 20 minutes. It was 39-31 after Vojvoda scored what was Szolnok's 9th 3-pointer in the first half. The home team continued with a good performance in the third period, and by the time Strahinja Milosevic scored an additional free throw, they were in front by as much as 17 points, that after another 12-0 partial. The visitors then managed to regroup, scored the next 7 points to close the gap to 10, but again the Hungarians would provide the answer, as David Vojvoda rounded up a run of 9 consecutive points, and the gap again grew to 19. Then the visitors scored 3 successive times for 3, as Pavel Ivanov managed to beat the buzzer and set the result after the first 3 quarters. But the home team staged another offensive at the start of the last 10 minutes by scoring the opening 7 points, and after Sinovic scored, the result was 66-49. Then one of the best actions of the game, first Ákos Keller blocked Angelo's shot, which was followed by a quick counter-attack finished by a nice alley-oop at the other end, and the game was of course decided. It finished with 81-67 in favor of the home team. Krka suffered their first defeat of the season in the previous round and now hosted MZT from Skopje, who had previously recorded a first win under the guidance of their new coach Vrbica Stefano. The home team drew first blood through Alexis Vangmene, and for the visitors the first points were scored by Owen Klassen. The Macedonians held the first initiative by taking the lead of 7-2, but soon Krka responded by scoring 10 consecutive points, as Chris Booker made it 21-13. It was 23-15 after the first period. In the second quarter, the visitors were quick to catch up with the hosts, as Jordan de Monk closed the gap to just 3 points, but immediately Krka responded by scoring the next 9 points, mainly through Erion Castrati and Malcolm Armstead, who made it 32-22 for the hosts. Castrati scored 9 of his 15 points altogether in that second period as the gap grew to 15 points. The visitors still managed some kind of response by cutting the deficit to 10 points after 2 consecutive three-pointers from Marko Simonovski, after which Nebojša Joksimovic scored last in the first half to make it 43-31 after the first 20 minutes. Then it was time for Chris Booker to shine as he scored 10 of his 14 points altogether in that third period, and Krka was in front by 55-37. Then Owen Klassen scored twice in a row to make it 58-41, but soon Krka was in front by 23 points when Mirko Mulalic scored his third three-pointer of the night. It was 64-43 after 30 minutes of play. And the home team didn't stop there either, as they scored the first 7 points of the last period, this time with Malcolm Armstead taking centre stage as he scored 9 of his 11 points in the last period, and the lead was already astronomical with Krka 28 points to the good. The game was officially decided by Mirko Mulalic with one of the best actions of the match, after which the home team was in front by 30. It was time for some young local talent to have some valuable playing time, but they were able to keep the lead high. It ended 85-52, the highest Krka win of the season and the highest win of the round as well. Six-time the league's champion Partizan had only one win to their name prior to this encounter with Metalac, still the only team without a win this season. It was also a first appearance of Partizan's newest acquisition, Milan Mačvan, but he only featured for 2 minutes as he had some muscle problems, which will keep him out of action for the next 10 days. The home team needed as much as 4 minutes to score from open play, and then Milutino managed to do that. Metalac was in front by 11-6. The guests opened up a 10-point lead when Marko Ljubicic scored 2 of his 10 points altogether. It was 23-12 after the first 10 minutes, with Partizan only scoring twice from open play. Đorđe Gagić scored 7 of his 13 points altogether in the second period. He was responsible the visitors wouldn't get too far away, but not for long, as Metalac would succeed in doing just that when Đorđe Majstorović scored, as they pulled away to a massive 17-point lead. That was little less than 3 minutes before half-time. Still, Partizan was able to cut the deficit to 11 points come the end of the first 20 minutes, courtesy of Edo Murić. And that was of paramount importance, as Partizan started the second half much better, with Nikola Milutino rounding up a 12-1 partial as the home team came within just 2 points of the visitors. Metalac needed more than 4 minutes to get going in the second half, the deadlock broken by Dusan Kutlesic with a 3. 2 minutes before the end of the third quarter, Partizan took their first lead of the game by 54-52 when Mihailo Andrić scored for 3. The same player scored another 3 right at the end of the period, thus setting the result after 30 minutes of play of 59-57. Metalac was still in play for their first win of the season when Majstorović dunked nicely to make it 64-63. Partizan then opened up a 6-point lead when Luka Bogdanović scored his second three-pointer of the night. Then the next couple of minutes the teams would only score from the free throw line, after which Partizan would open up a 9-point lead in the 39th minute. And in the end, that was enough for Partizan's second win of the season. It finished 84-77, with Metalac squandering what was a great chance of a big surprise. Mega Vizura played host to Union Olimpija in Sremska Mitrovica. Nikola Jokic was the first one to score in this game, and for the visitors at the other end, it was the captain of Bulgarian national team, Hristo Nikolov. Mega soon opened up a double-digit lead when they scored for 3 for the first time in the game. It was again Nikola Jokic, the league's best player so far. Blaž Markovic replied at the other end. He eventually finished the match on 11 points. It was 23-13 after the first period when Andrija Bojic managed to score in the last second of it. The visitors started the second period much better, with Mirza Begic dunking after being assisted nicely. Olimpija then scored twice from the three-point line, both times Sasu Salin, and for the first time in the game Olimpija was in front by 30-26. But the home team replied instantly by scoring the next 9 points, and when Chantekin scored, they were in front by 35-30. The half finished with 37-34. Mega Vizura then opened the second half well as Chantekin raised the bar to 9 points again. Marko Marinovic missed his opening 8 shots, and when he finally scored, he closed the gap to 7. But that was followed by another poor run of the visitors as Mega Vizura opened a 16-point lead courtesy of Rade Zagorac. Incidentally, he managed to reach the record-breaking score of 19 points in the league. Still, Olimpija managed to get closer before the start of the last 10 minutes when Alen Omic scored twice in a row. He was Olimpija's best scorer eventually with 14 points. Marko Kešel was playing better and better, and when he scored, the home team was 13 points to the good. The lead was soon 14 when Alexander Marelja finished one of numerous counter-attacks by the home team. Nenad Miljenovic was again organizing things with much flair, and Mega Vizura set the new highest lead of the game of 17 points. That left the visitors without a chance of a new win as Rade Zagorac raised the bar to 20 points. In the end, a convincing win for Mega Vizura as Olimpija managed 13 points less than their average this season. 2,400 people turned up in Podgorica to see their team fight it out against the defending champion in the Morača Hall. Cibona, who managed to win for the first time in the season the last time, was the first one to score in this match through Jure Lalic, and for Budućnost it was Čedomir Vitkovac. The home team was in front by 8-6 when Omar Cook scored for 3 for the first time in the match. Budućnost was in front by 19-16 after the first 10 minutes. The home team was quick to open up an 8-point lead at the start of the second period when Will Sheehy scored Budućnost's 4th three-pointer, and it didn't last long before Budućnost opened up a first more significant lead of 14 points when Omar Cook scored his 3rd three-pointer. The home team was 15 points to the good when Vitkovac was successful, but then Cibona, mainly through Damir Markota, made sure the lead wouldn't get too big. Cibona managed to close the gap to 10 points till the end of the half, which finished by 46-36 when Marin Rozic was successful. In the second half, Budućnost kept their distance without real trouble as Cook assisted Vladimir Dasic nicely to make it 55-41. Then J.R. Reynolds scored 4 points in a row as Budućnost equaled their highest lead thus far of 15 points. Then Cibona closed the gap to 11 when Jarell Blessingame scored 5 successive points, but that was followed by a 6-0 partial by the home team, and Budućnost set a new highest lead at the end of the third period when Alexander Chaplin scored for 3. It was 70-54 after 30 minutes of play. At the start of the last quarter, Budućnost scored 3 times in 1 minute to reach new heights of 22 points to the good, and that after another 12-0 run. Then the young Andrija Žižić scored 4 points in a row to make it 79-58, but the Hosts were soon in front by 24 points, as Darko Planinic, former of Cibona of course, was playing really well that night by scoring 16 points in the end. By the time Čedomir Vitkovac scored again, the gap had risen to incredible 29 points. Cibona tried to salvage something from the game with Ivan Siriščević scoring to make it 94-69. Eventually, Budućnost would reach 100 points for the first time in the season. It finished 101-79. That means another crushing defeat for the defending champion, while Budućnost records a 5th successive win of the season. 4,000 people turn up in the Krešimir Ćosić Hall to see their Zadar take on the top team of the league, still undefeated Crvena Zvezda. Josip Sobin scored first for the home team in this match to make it 2-1, and as it turned out, that was the only time the home team would spend in front in this match. Crvena Zvezda was soon in front by 7 points when Nikola Kalinic was precise, but soon Sobin made sure the home team were only trailing by a point. And that is this action. Crvena Zvezda was in front by 5 come the end of the first period. Charles Jenkins was at the heart of it at the start of the second period, as he scored 3 times in a row to make it 19-12. And then Luka Mitrovic made sure Crvena Zvezda would open up a 9-point lead, which was their highest in the first half. Then it was time for Filip Kraljevic to shine, as he contributed 6 points to close the gap to just 3. When the league's second best scorer, James Florence, scored his first basket of the game, Zadar would again come to within 4 points near the end of the first half. But then Nemanja Dangubic scored for 3 in the last second and a half to set the result of the first 20 minutes. It was 37-30. The first 7 points of the second half were scored by the visitors. Combined with that, Dangubic's 3, it rounded up a 10-0 run for them. And when Luka Mitrovic scored, Crvena Zvezda was in front by 14 points for the first time in the match. Marcus Williams scored all of his 7 points in the third period, including 2 times for 3, as he made it 49-36. Charles Jenkins outscored his compatriot by a point in this period, and after his 3, the gap grew to 17. The home team captain Ive Ivanov was fighting as always, as he cut the deficit to 12 points. But then the visitors had the best of luck when Mike Zieps managed somehow to score without even looking. 65-48 for Crvena Zvezda after the end of the third period. Josip Sobin made sure Zadar still had a chance to win at the start of the last quarter when he made it 65-53. But Zvezda would again respond rapidly by scoring the next 6 points to set a new highest lead of the game of 18, courtesy of Nikola Kalinic. Zadar wouldn't come much nearer till the end of the game, as Zvezda secured their 5th win on the trot, while Zadar lost their first home game of the season. It ended 79-63. Cedevita hosted Igokea in the Don Sportova Hall in Zagreb, having previously won twice, while Igokea managed that for the first time last time against Krka. The home team, still without Ukic and Thomas, scored first in this match through Miro Bilan, and for the visitors it was their captain Branko Jorovic. Igokea was in front by 17-12 when Jonathan Jones scored his 3rd 3-pointer already, and was still in front come the end of the period, which they won by 21-18. At the start of the second quarter, Branko Jorovic scored 2 successive 3-pointers to open up an 8-point lead for the visitors, who were in front for the whole period. When Nemanja Gordic, who was last year's best scorer for Igokea, scored 4 points, he closed the gap to just 4, but Igokea would finish in front after the first 20 minutes. It was 36-31. At the start of the third period, Marko Čakarević scored for 3 to equal Igokea's highest lead this far of 8 points. The lead would grow even further as Mladen Jeremić rounded up a 10-2 partial to make it 54-42. Cedevita did manage to close the gap by the end of the period, which ended with Igokea in front by 7 when Fran Pilepic scored in the last second of it. The home team then started the last period really well with a 14-2 partial, after which they equalled the score to 56, courtesy of hot Fran Pilepic, who contributed 9 points to that Cedevita run. Igokea needed more than 4 minutes to get going in the last quarter, as Duško Bunic scored to make it 59-58. Then both teams were at 64 points for quite some time, after which Ante Delas drove through successfully to give his team the lead. Then Marko Čakarević missed his shot for 3, while at the other end Nemanja Gordic was successful just 16 seconds before the end of the game to make it 68-64. Six seconds before time, Marko Čakarević missed both free throws, the second one on purpose, but Igokea wouldn't score again, despite the fact that they did pick up a ball after that missed free throw. Cedevita won the last quarter by 19-8, and in turn the game as well by 68-64. The third win of the season for one of the favorites of this competition. So let's take a look at the results again. No problems for Solnok and Krka, who secures the highest win of the round. Partizan saved themselves with a much better second half display. An easy win for Mega Vizura over Union Olimpija and Budućnost over Cibona, while Crvena Zvezda gets out unscathed out of that hot encounter in Dalmatia. No change at the top of the table, as Crvena Zvezda and Budućnost remain unbeaten. Krka replaces Olimpija in third spot. Still a very surprising outlook towards the foot of the table, as Partizan, Cibona and Igokea are all still there. Metalac remains the only team without a win this season. The most valuable player of the fifth round is Mega Vizura's Nenad Miljenovic, who reached a playing index of 34. The 21-year-old has played really well in the 36 minutes he played in the win over Olimpija. He managed to score 17 points, catch 7 loose balls and assist 11 times to his teammates. He also had 4 steals in this marquee performance. And now let's take a look at the top 5 actions of the fifth round. We start at number 5, where we find Filip Kraljevic with his dunk of the Zadar's counter-attack. We have another dunk at number 4, which was a nice piece of team action of Metalac, finished by Đorđe Majstorovic. At number 3, Mirko Mulalic, nice stolen ball from Krka, quick counter-attack with a dunk from Mulalic. At number 2, again the dunking, this time from Miro Bilan from Cedevita. And our best action of the round started at one end with this block from Akos Keller, followed by a alley-oop at the other end from Stefan Sinovec. Of course, both players from Szolnoki, Hungary. And this is our prettiest action of the round. And the next round starts on Saturday at 5 p.m. with Levski hosting Krka. 2 more games on that day, one in Ljubljana and the other in Aleksandrovac. On Sunday, MZT hosts Cedevita in Skopje as a foreplay to the derby game of the round, as the 2 leading teams cross swords in Belgrade. The game in Sremska Mitrovica will close the round on Monday evening. And that's all for today. Until next time, it's bye-bye from us.